Hi everybody, I just decided to record a video. A few of you have messaged me and asking about some help and what is that we're going to do in this tough times. There are different types of questions, but they all come from one emotion, fear. The simple answer is we will. If you look at the history of humanity, we have been always the survivors. From the Neanderthals to Vikings and even through the plagues, we have been resilient, we persevered, and we survived. So we will survive through this as well. But let's look at why this is all happening. You know, we all aware of that fear, the flight and the fight response that we all aware of. That's built in our DNA. So it's inevitable that we experience the fear. We feel it, we experience it, but how do we process it and how we are reacting to it determines the outcome. Basically how we feel about living through this, the new reality that we face every day. So I'll give you an example. When I open my deck door here, there's always been the birds just chirping and picking up the wands and seeds and whatnot. The first few times they were just completely blown away by my presence, and then they just flew away. After a few times they got used to that sound, the crackling sound, the deck is opening, and now they're not bothered by my presence at all. So they adapted to the situation. The fear is no longer there. So I'll give you another example. If you have seen pictures of the monkeys in Bali or Thailand, they approach the tourists and they're not afraid of our presence, and they want things like, you know, mangoes or bananas, and sometimes they even steal the stuff. Weren't they afraid of our human presence? Was there fear? Yes, there certainly was, but they adapted to the situations. Probably one day a monkey walked onto the street and got some bananas from one tourist, and the rest of them just watched and they just started doing the same. So there was an adaptation of what's happening around the monkeys, and they adapted to this. Let's look into how our brain works. So there's an initial trigger of fear, and then when it feels safe, once we know and assess the situation, we change our thoughts, we respond differently. So did that situation around us changed? Never. You adapted to the situation. The way you are thinking, and you adopted, and your beliefs allowed you to respond in a different way. In this situation, what's the information that's really causing this fear? In the current situation, we're looking at the news every day, and we have these tiny devices in our hands, and we're just going back and checking, okay, how many COVID deaths are there and what's happening and what the world leaders are doing about it. So there's a continuous information about fear. Even though the information existed, but now maybe tenfold or hundredfold, like every TV channel is just covering that one thing. How do you think our brain would respond? The fear is there, and it triggered, your anxiety is up, and then you keep on continuously getting that information. How do you change that? That situation around us is not going to change, but our thinking can change to adapt to that fear. And then how we survive through this situation. Some of these things, like the virus spread, it's nothing in your hands. All you can do is practice social distancing and wash your hands. And many of the people in Western countries, and if you have shelter and you're with your family, you're safe. You know, there are three things that we need as humans: food, shelter, and then safety. If you have these, you're lucky. So think about turning that TV off or checking the internet for how many deaths are there today and what the world leaders are saying about the progress of the vaccine. Whatever they're doing is completely out of your hands, and they will eventually find a vaccine for this. So there is a standard formula that I use anytime I feel pressured, or there's fear, or there's anxiety, and a lot of people that I work with use this as well. I call it AAP, that's AAAP, that's AAAP. So I'll explain you what this is. Basically means aware, assess, accept, and plan. So you're aware of the situation, you're assessing it, and you're accepting it, and you're planning a course of action. And repeat that steps every single time you face certain fears. So trust that you're not alone. We always have been the survivors. You're safe if you have a shelter and you're with your family or loved ones. Be grateful for it. And if you're afraid of the current situation, assess and have a plan. And if you need further help, there are a lot of agencies out there that can offer you a lot of support. We will get through this as well. So let's pray for all. Let's stay strong together. So if you like to share this video with some of your friends or family members, feel free to do so. And use your time to be more close with your family, or even more close to yourself. So tomorrow I'm going to record another video how you can be close to yourself during these times.